Well, hello and welcome back to my inky channel. My name is Kieron Seamons and this is where all the drawing happens. This is a channel where it's really supported by you. So if you support me with your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, or your small donations to the channel, all make this channel possible for you. And today we are going to do a fabulous drawing because I don't even know what it is yet. But it's a character that's in my book. So, what's he going to look like? Let's get into it. Let's do some drawing. So, welcome back. We are here and everything is moving. Okay, so as I very briefly explained at the beginning, we're going to be doing a drawing and it's one of the characters that are in the story. And it's a kind of an afterthought character, and that's something that I'm going to have to kind of add. But it's been playing around in my mind quite a bit. And thank you for all the donations. Thank you very, 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 very much. You do keep this channel alive. You keep it moving. You keep the ink flowing. And it is greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. So the character, okay, so the character is that, as you know from the Worilips stories, if you have bought the book, and I'm going to flash the book up to you again, there it is. That's one of the collection of the Worilips books, and there's about 5 of them already. But the whole point is that Mr. Lemons is carrying a lot of guilt, and the guilt is really beginning to kind of tear him apart, really. You know, it's like really he has this secret that he's keeping, and you have to read the book. He's carrying this secret, and this secret is a secret that no crocodile should have. And so he has got to this stage of let's get something nice going there. What have we got? What have I got? It's quite nice. And he has got this secret, and this secret is really beginning to, it's beginning to drive his mind crazy with worry and guilt, and there's this character in there, and the character is guilt. Now, as I said, the book is written, but it seems to be a missing part, that his guilt needs to be a bigger element to the story. And so I've been working out this kind of character, that guilt needs to be not just a verbal, it needs to be a visual. And to do so, that means I need to kind of come up with a character of what guilt looks like. What does guilt look like? You know? And I've had a lot of different thoughts about it, and now I still don't really know where I'm going, but I've got a lot of elements. So I'm hoping today's drawing is going to be pulling all those elements together and giving me the image that I am looking for. Now, I do love the way that has come down, like. And that really does kind of add a lot to the character. And So I'm putting elements together here. I'm putting these thoughts together as I'm going. And the guilt, I kind of have this idea in my mind that he's been dealing with guilt, and guilt has become almost like a small pet. it's become like a small dog that follows you around or something. You know, it's kind of like always there in his mind, and it's getting to him. So what I'm trying to achieve here is a character that is following those kind of dimensions of nastiness. And again, it's a very difficult thing to kind of get across, because is that thick? Is that a thick nib? Looks thick. Let's not use a thick one on this one. Because now that I've got this very thick and heavy texture, I need to play down onto a lighter, much more sensitive line. Ooh, that'll do. So I'm using that nib for all you technical people. I'm always quite amused by the amount of people that ask and say, "How did you do that? What is that nib?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. Which nib was it?" I've got about 20 of them all sitting on the side there, and I do enjoy this approach that I don't really get too kind of technical about what things are and what they should be and what this means and what grade of what this is, and because I kind of go very much on my feelings a lot. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about, why is your ink so wet, or you know, why is your ink so dry? Like now you can see it's dry. It's like, well, it's like textured ink. It's like if you're thinking of something wet and fluid, and then you need to kind of have that type of ink at the end of your nib. So sometimes I dry them out. I add elements to dry out the ink, as you can see by the state of some of these brushes that I've got here. I'll have to dry off the ends, but you can see the brushes are quite horrible and manky and dried up, and that kind of brings in this texture of dryness, or this texture of the character that I'm seeking. And the same the other way, if I'm doing something where I really want, I do wet the ink. I say wet the ink, but it is basically making it more a fluid texture. And that again is under control, although a lot of people are kind of looking and seeing that I'm just drawing from madness. It's not such a thing. It is a controlled madness. Is there such a thing? People are saying, Kieron, is there such a thing as controlled madness? Well, I believe so. And I like to think there is. So my inks are in graded pots, as many people have asked before about such things. Yes, I do control my inks. Yes, I do grade my inks. And yes, sometimes I forget which one is which. And it's the same way with the nibs. I do, you know, I did try at the beginning about finding certain nibs that did certain tricks, and I even got to the point of naming some of the. If you see some of the old videos, you'll see that there's a name written on the. It'll be Thunder, or it'll be the Dark Cat, or some stupid madness that I was getting into, and each kind of nib would have a certain feel about it. And although at the beginning I was desperately trying to be very, very technical, it did get to the point where I would end up kind of renaming them to kind of go along with how I was feeling at the time. Why did I call that the Beast? Well, it's quite a nice gentle nib, and I'd end up renaming it from the Beast to I don't know, Kitten Fluff or something, So I kind of, over time, I've developed more of a thing of controlling the pen in your hand. So the nib is slightly irrelevant. Irrelevant as in I do need a nib, but that you shouldn't really depend on your tool as much, in the same way that I kind of see that all this new kind of technology of AI and such like that is also using your tool too much. I'm not sure about that face. So to have a nib that's a universal nib, or to the point where I'm training my hand, I'm not training the nib. So if I was to pick up another nib, I could probably do exactly the same type of thing. Well, I would hope. And there is obviously certain styles where things are different. For example, like with a pencil, you would go for a 6B or something that's going to be a bit more grainy and textured. Where with nibs, obviously, if you're going for thicker nibs or thinner nibs, or there is a difference. So there, and there is some of the flexi nibs there which I don't really like. This. And sometimes with these characters it's nice to kind of feel them out. Sometimes I will draw the character I will draw it out to be an image from my mind, but it doesn't really mean that it's going to be. I've actually found myself, I drew the gardener the other day, and I ended up the other night kind of thinking about redrawing it and all these different plans that I had for it, and should he be like this and should he be like that, and it's just an ongoing process. It's just an ongoing kind of obsession almost. You kind of do get to these stages where if you're illustrating something on a constant, your mind is on a constant, so you're kind of waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and kind of going, oh, why did I draw it like that? I didn't in the story. He said he had little wings. He doesn't have wings. Oh no! And you kind of get into that point of kind of constantly reinventing things, and it's a deadly, deadly, deadly thing to get into. And the thing is that you know as a combination of being the writer and the illustrator, it also means that my first brain is thinking about the illustration, my second brain is thinking about all the writing of it. So you've got one thinking about the writing of it and the other one thinking about the visual of it, and you can get into a bit of a brain war, which is quite a constant happening. It's quite a constant thing where your brain is kind of having a conflict about, well, he really needs to be very big, like 6 foot, and he needs to have hairy armpits, and he needs to have, and then the next one is saying, oh no, he needs to be dressed as a clown, and you're thinking, oh god, you two, please sort it out between you. So yeah, the obviously it helps, I think, by being the artist and the illustrator, but in some occasions I do wish that I could write the book and then hand it over to somebody else, or have the book written and then for me to illustrate it, just to kind of give it a different twist almost. And obviously my books are written and on Amazon, and your purchases of my books are what keeps the books coming. And I do also appreciate people's comments. As much as sometimes people are very shy to leave comments, it's just a very, very lovely way to kind of see what people are thinking, what people are feeling about the illustrations and what is happening on them. I have no idea why, but I do kind of feel like he needs to be wearing some kind of boot. Maybe sound like some kind of Wellington boot of some sort. And again, these illustrations will go through different phases. Obviously, there will be a kind of a painting up stage at some point where I will go in and I'll put textures and colors onto it. And that will kind of define the character a little bit more. Anyway, this is a character that is seemingly a a kind of mental pet, if you wish. I think in the first book, guilt has taken Mr. Lemons to the court, a court case in his mind of all the guilt and all the bad that he has built up in his mind over kind of having dealings with this ghost. And that was quite a nice a nice kind of character situation there, with him kind of building this all up in his own mind, this kind of fear of what people would think and what Norman would think, you know, what his friend the goldfish would think. And that can be a kind of a situation that a lot of people go through, that kind of situation of how people see you and how you see other people seeing you. It's kind of, it can be a little bit of a mental torture the more you kind of get into it. And that's what happened with Mr. Lemons. Mr. Lemons got to a point where his own mind kind of took him to court and basically produced this nasty character, this nasty side of this crocodile, which there isn't, but in his mind there was. In his mind he was an evil character, whereas for us he was just a beautiful, friendly crocodile. And I think that's kind of like part of the kind of mental health part of the story, that it seems like everybody in my book was kind of like struggling at some point with all of this. Everybody was struggling with what's going on in their mind, and I think we all do at some point. Yeah. I kind of go through the whole thing of if I don't have very many book sales, or I don't have very many print sales or whatever, I do kind of start going, oh, what's happened, you know. And I do need to get back into doing some stuff for the shop. I do know that. I did notice the other day that it's all kind of, it's on like a bit of a timer. You put up something and you can have it for 3 months, and if it doesn't sell in 3 months, then it disappears, you know. So all those mugs that I make and all those t-shirts that I make just kind of vanish, and then you have to kind of rethink everything. So that's why it's quite valuable that the more I sell, the more it kind of reminds me to go back in and to kind of revamp everything. Whereas when I'm very, very busy with a book, I kind of forget about the shop. I forget about the maintenance of the shop. And, you know, then things start to get to a point where I've got to go back in and restock and, you know. But don't forget about my shop. Now I'm going to try and get in there and see if everything still looks quite wet. Thought that would happen. And that has just blobbed down onto my mouth. And this is basically, I don't even know if this will appear in the book. This is very much a kind of test. Very much a kind of feeling things out. See, I can't even, yeah, I can see it all starting to, you know, ink has this way of kind of, as soon as you, if you have a blob of ink and you go very close to it, you kind of feel like it's a magnet. You kind of feel like it's beginning to pull, and that pull is like, give me that water so that I can go spread. So that's basically where I'm trying to be very, very, very careful here. I'm trying to be very careful about what I put my ink on, because although this is just a test at the moment, I'm hoping to get some kind of feeling from it. And the kind of gentle idea was to have this kind of almost like a flea, almost, you know, like if you can imagine a kind of a character like a flea that's almost like that. I really wanted him to have that kind of negative side. Yeah, I can't do much more with that. Right, well, that is enough. This is the first level. Obviously later on I will go back in and do some much, but you can basically see the way that he is standing there. Yeah, he's picking it up. Yeah, I don't want to do that. And you will see later on, you will see that that is a it is a kind of flea-like character, and it will be very different by the time the illustration comes around. But that is the basic idea for the guilt that is surrounded with Mr. Lemons in the story. The guilt is this creature that follows him, and I'm not 100% sure that is what it looks like, but it will be something like that. I'm tempted to make the eyes more nasty, whereas I kind of feel at the moment he's a little bit more kind of sleepy or a little bit more careful, and I want to have that aggression. So I might the body shape and the legs and everything I'm really happy with, so I might just rework that at some point, but I will put it on the side and let my two brains fight it out, and we will see what happens. But thank you very much for being here. Thank you for looking at today's drawing and today's progression in the illustration for this book. And I will see you all again, hopefully, tomorrow. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And I'll see you tomorrow.